Hello, let's talk for a few minutes about PuMP, the performance measurement process for organisational performance measurement. And I'd like to talk about it for a few minutes because to me it's one of the most powerful tools we can use inside organisations to really achieve goals of continuous improvement, create and empower high-performing teams, and really create a learning organisation. That is an organisation that learns from how it implements improvement, how it implements projects, and uses its measurement system as feedback to how we're learning and how we're getting that high performance organisation overall. So the methodology itself has been developed by Stacey Barr over about 20 years, and I've been using it for 10 years. And the thing that surprised me most when I started to use PuMP was that I'd worked in corporate for about 14 years and done an MBA, but I'd never really learned how to do KPIs. It is stuff that I'd learnt on the job, picked up from other managers, been taught by managers and leaders, and you sort of create this whole set of habits of how you do it. The ironic thing is that when we come to do, say, a project inside an organisation, the first thing we would do is we'd agreed on the methodology we were going to use. Likewise, if we're going to develop strategy, we'd figure out our method first, and then we would work through that methodology. If we're going to do research, we would do the same thing. But when it comes to KPIs, we all tend to just do KPIs based on what we've learned in the past and what we think works. Whereas PuMP is a methodology developed by a research statistician to actually figure out how to do organisational performance measurement properly and to get the outcome that we're looking for, and that is performance improvement. So Dean Spitzer talks about in his book, I forget what it's called now, but he talks about the measurement system for an organisation being its real information source. And if you think about it, we use our measurement system to provide data back to us and the feedback in terms of how we're trying to perform. So that is a critical part around it. But most of the time, organisations don't set this up well because we don't use a method. We tend to use a whole bunch of different ways about how we go about it. So the PuMP methodology is developed by Stacey. It's covered in detail in her book, Practical Performance Measurement. Well over 300 pages on that, and we also run workshops around it, and the workshop manuals also contain a whole set of tools and techniques around how you cover the whole spectrum of doing performance measurement well inside an organisation. There are 8 steps of PuMP. I'm going to cover those very briefly. As you can see, there's a lot more to it than just what I'm going to say now. The first step of PuMP is really about setting your purpose for performance measurement. If the reason that you are doing performance measurement is about compliance, then don't expect to get any learning from it. Don't expect people to willingly want to put in data and use measures to learn from them, because we've set the purpose of measurement is about compliance. When we set the purpose for performance measurement on continuous improvement, we actually can start to do things differently in the way that we implement it, because our purpose is about continuous improvement, and therefore we do things differently around how we use measures to empower people to become a high-performance organisation. The second step of PuMP then is what we call results. We actually need to figure out what are the results or outcomes we need to get to. So not yet talking about measurement, we're figuring out in step 2 what it is we want to measure. And these are our results and the outcomes that we want to achieve. Step 3 gives us the measure design process around how we then design measures for those results, because the job of any performance measure is to give us feedback about how we're going against our results. Step 4 is about how we can engage the organisation more deeply with performance measurement. Step 5 is how we define those measures before we actually start to report them. In other words, let's do some work on the definition of it before we start putting these measures into reports so that people know exactly what it is we're measuring, where the data is coming from, and how it's going to be calculated. And then in steps 6 and 7 of PuMP, we use XMR charts, proven statistical tools to ensure that we get consistent interpretation from the way that we look at performance measures. Step 7 is about how we use reports and dashboards to get away from all those colourful dials and gauges that don't really tell us anything, to really using performance reports and XMR charts to help us understand, what is the pattern of the information we're seeing? Is this measure going up, staying the same, or going down? And then is it heading us towards the goals that we've set to achieve? And our targets are set through this latter end when we start to actually report the measures themselves. So anyway, step 8 then is about how we use performance measures, pardon me, and The whole process comes together as a complete system and a complete methodology around how we get performance measurement and KPIs working inside an organisation. If you'd like to learn more about KPIs, you can find this on my website. Contact me, I've got a few white papers on it, or you can get over to staceybarr.com where Stacey has 3,000 articles on her blog around the whole steps and approaches to performance measurement in organisations. I hope this has been of value, and thanks for watching.